Every worship leader realizes, hopefully sooner than later, that they are going to be replaced. In this episode, we talk about some of the practical ways that we can intentionally train future congregational worship leaders. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Sound Plus Doctrine podcast.
Woo.
I am David Zimmer.
I'm Bob Kauflin.
And we are very happy that you could be with us.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for joining us. Bob, I want to talk today about the topic of raising up future leaders.
Great. I love that topic.
Well, you have been doing this for years and years, so I thought it would be appropriate.
A few years.
And I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast, I know a couple of them, have benefited so greatly from actually your personal leadership, either through an intensive or through being at Sovereign Grace Church of Louisville, doing life with you through conferences. Yeah. So I just think it's a...
Well, you've done some yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I got started out, when I was started playing in bands when I got saved in like junior high school.
Wow. You just started mentoring people right then?
No.
Okay, good.
That would have been a terrible idea.
Yeah, it would have been.
Learn what not to do. Mm-hmm. When I was in the youth band after I got saved, I knew that the song leader at the time, our youth leader, was like more interested in me like staying on the drums. Like, just do your role and your part here.
Here's where you're gifted.
But it wasn't until college ministry, the college ministry I was a part of in California, where, our worship leader took a real interest in me
that's so great.
And others to train me up to potentially even lead the songs.
Yeah.
And so I just was so marked by that, that he just took an interest in, hey, let me get you up there. And
makes a difference.
Yeah, let me, I want to equip you and give you the tools to lead.
Yeah.
And so I think this would be an encouraging topic for us to both talk about, but what is your process and how you would train up future leaders? That's the first part.
Okay.
The second part is, how has that changed over the years?
That's good. I think, I'm not sure when I started thinking about this. Probably in the, actually I do remember when I started thinking about this. It's kind of sometime in the 90s, so it's been almost 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. I just realized I need to start actually it's the late 80s. I need to start doing something to like replace myself, even though it was way long before I was really going to do that. But, I needed to give myself to focusing on people that aren't doing this now, but maybe could do it later. So I remember doing a few things that, if I don't know if it's recorded or not, but if it was, it would be horrible, I'm sure. But then I remember I was part of a big church in the D.C. area, and I tried to do something more systematic. So, you can raise up leaders as they serve alongside you, which is one thing I'll talk about because I'm doing a lot of that now. But there were some teenage guys who I thought, I want to serve them somehow. So we, I think, got together for maybe 10 or 12 Saturday mornings. Wow. And went through the book Engaging with God by David Peterson, which is a pretty tough read. I mean, it's a lot of seminaries use it, and it's not an easy read. But it was a book that God used to really change my perspective on what worship is and how we're to talk about it and understand it. So I thought, man, let's just put these guys in the deep end of the pool. And they read it, and I had them write a review of each chapter they read. They had to do like a little summary of it. And then the other thing I did was have one of them lead each time. And this is something that has probably become the most important part of my efforts to mentor leaders. And that is, they pick up a guitar, they lead 2 or 3 songs, and they include Bible or whatever, the scripture. They talk to us, but you see in that, this little context. It's like I think we maybe had like 10 guys in there, But, I've done later ones that's like 4 of us, and you really get to see where a person's at because all the, like if they're doing anything that's like produced kind of, or, just big moves, it just doesn't feel right in a room with 4 people. It's just like, would you just stop that?
It kind of takes them out of their typical context.
It does.
If they are in a big church context or whatever.
Or would want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's just, it's you, your instrument, your vocal, and us. Which is, as I said before, it's the same thing every church has. We have at that moment the same thing every church has, which is the Word of God. We have the gospel. We have the Spirit of God working through His people. That's what we have. So that was years ago, and I think I maybe did that 2 or 3 times with different groups. And then I moved to Louisville in 2012. And we get to work with a lot of students here, the Boyce College and Southern Seminary here. And so that's really made me more aware of, the necessity of doing this. So I've done different things. And I would say when I'm thinking about training, there are 3 things I'm thinking about. And it's the same thing that I'd be thinking about when I lead a conference, put together a conference, the Worship God Conference. 3 areas that they're all equally important. It's like 3 legs of a 3-legged stool. It's theology, heart, and skill. I want them to grow in all 3. One's, there are some places you can go where it's very theological and you get great training, great education, you get into the scriptures, but in terms of like how actually to apply it, not so much.
Right.
Other places you go where you get all the musical skills, technical skills, but in terms of why you're doing this, not so much. And then in either of those situations, a lot of times, no one's really speaking to the heart. Now, I'm not saying there's no places that do this, but it can be our tendency to focus on 1 or 2 of those 3 aspects. So I want to focus on all 3. The first would be the theology. So we're usually going through some kind of book. I've used Engaging with God. I used CJ's book, Humility, True Greatness, which actually was great. I think I'm trying to remember if I did that twice. It just speaks to the heart so clearly, why we're doing what we're doing. And there's a lot of temptations that you face when you're in front of people, every Sunday, or when you want to be in front of people every Sunday. And so humility just really speaks to that and helps us adjust, our expectations and helps us expose how we're viewing ourselves. I've used some of my books, which is really awkward. True Worshipers, I went through that with a group.
Great book, though. That's really helpful.
And then I don't know if I've ever done Worship Matters with a group or not. But of course, I put together a video series to help others do that.
Yeah.
So you could do that.
Yeah.
So there's the theology. That comes through in so many ways. It could be through the book we're reading. It could be in the evaluation we're talking about. Then the heart is, we get real about why we're doing things. So if someone's, talking in a way that just sounds performance-y or, like they're putting on something, we'll say that. Or if someone comes, feeling insecure, and we'll dig into that. We'll say, well, what's going on there? Or if someone's always, just anything someone's doing repeatedly or kind of as a pattern, we want to dig behind that and say, so what's going on there? What's happening, do you think? Talk about why, we even want to lead songs. It's to care for God's people, care for those for whom Christ gave his life and he died and rose from the dead. That's who we're serving. So what does your heart feel about that? Is that where your heart is? And, it's just, that's the challenge, isn't it? It's like for whoever gets up and leads, it's, the problems aren't out there. The problems aren't the congregation, or my pastor. The problem's me. Like, what is my heart doing? What do I crave right now? And it is really hard to be in a small context and leading and not feel a little bit of pressure to want to do something really great, especially when it's in a group. You're in a group of 6 to 10 guys, whatever. And you're thinking, I wanted this to be really good. And so we address the heart, and then we address the skill. And the skill is just, it's leadership, it's communication, it's how you play your instrument, it's how you make segues, it's turns, it's your vocals, it's all those things. So I've found that the best way to get at all three of those is to, gather. We'll maybe go through a chapter of a book. So maybe take 25 minutes for that. And if you were doing the video intensive, Worship Matters video intensive, you could just watch that. Those are all between 20 and 30 minutes. This is not a pitch for that, but if someone wanted to do that, they could. Or you're going through a book and you talk about it and just, hey, I found it helpful to ask people to come with something that affected them or a question they have. So we come, we talk about it. So we pray at the start. And then somebody leads. And they get to pick their songs. They, they pick the scriptures. They do it all. And so I tell them, I really want this to be a time when we encounter the Lord. This isn't just a workshop. We're not just practicing. Jesus is just as glorious, just as worthy of praise when we're doing this as he is when we gather on Sunday mornings. So you tell us that. You show us that. So they'll lead, and then we will give evaluation. And so if I'm in a group and I'm doing it for once a month, I will usually do those evaluations first. And the first thing we do is encourage the person who led. And I'll just find anything to encourage them on. I mean, I'll look for everything I can encourage them on. If the song progression was good, if the turns were good, the segues were good, if something they said was helpful, if they used two scriptures, one was the Old Testament, one was from the New Testament. That was great that you didn't just stay in one testament and you gave us the view of the whole Bible that has to do with what we're doing. Just anything. Should you use a capo? Should you not use a capo? The way you're standing, did you sound like you're reading? Did you really know the melody to that song? I mean, nothing is too small, because what I'll say to guys is, look, you got to think of this may not feel so bad right now, but if you did this as a pattern, like repeatedly week after week, it'd be a problem. So all the good things. And then I'll say something like, all right, we encountered the Lord as you led. It was great. And nothing else we're going to share is going to affect that. But what are some ways you might have done things better? So again, nothing's too small. So it could be, you just kind of drifted off there. We didn't really know that song, but you didn't give us any cues. You gave us too many cues. I know I've never been accused of that. This I'll say often to guys. It's you feel like you're reading. And that just, you're a personable person, and it just didn't feel like that. Or maybe it didn't really make sense what you said, or maybe you're trying to say too many things, or were those songs really connected? And then I'll let the other guys say something. I'll say, you guys have anything to offer? And over time, I'll start with them. And I'll say, hey, you what was good about that? What was encouraging? And I never let someone say, well, I like that. Or I really appreciated that. So what? You got to tell us why. Because we're not doing this just for you.
That's really good.
So that's the general gist. And that'll take like an hour and a half to do all that. I can do it shorter, but it's not hard if you're sitting and if you're trying to get everything you can out of a certain group or a certain person leading. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. So that's kind of
that's so good. When we've talked about this in a previous podcast, of how to
I'm sure everybody's listened to every podcast previous to this.
We've talked about this on a previous podcast about how to give criticism in a way that's gracious and humble.
Yeah.
And you explained that where, we start with something that's encouraging and then we can go to more like evaluation. But to sort of like cultivate that culture.
Yeah.
How do you do that in your church? Okay, so there's a guy in a church and he's getting a couple young leaders together to do something similar to what you're talking about. I'm going to take these guys through a book. I'm going to do some leadership evaluation.
That's great.
I think that would be an awesome thing to do. But how do you cultivate that whether they're young people or they're people who have been in ministry for a long time?
Yeah.
There's just a sense that it's not like, oh, this is just critical.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
That is so good. It's all rooted in the gospel, isn't it? I mean, if we are in a church where the gospel is proclaimed and applied, it's going to be harder. I'm grateful to be in a church where the gospel is proclaimed and applied, and we're always seeking to apply it better and know it better and know Jesus better. But by that, I mean, the cross says the worst thing possible about us. Like the worst thing that could be said about us has already been said. Because to pay for our sins alone, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, had to come, take on flesh, live a perfect life, die as our substitute, rise from the dead so that we could be forgiven. I mean, it's because of my sins that he had to do that.
Yeah.
So could anybody say anything worse about that? Worse about us than that? No.
Yeah.
So whatever criticism you have for me, I can take that because you can't say anything worse about me than what God has already said about me through the gospel, through the cross. Now, that was out of his great love for me, so I'm not groveling in that. I'm loved by the one who knows me best, loved in a way I cannot conceive. His love is beyond knowledge, Ephesians says. So it helps when people are rooted in that.
Absolutely.
But I'd say to him, number two, I would, you just have to model it. And I hope I'm a model of this. I want to be a model of this. You can't, we're all learners, right? We're all learners. No one's doing this like as the instrument or the channel of, God's word to people.
Yes.
We're all learning.
Right.
And that's one thing you see in people who've been doing something a long time. They know a ton, but they don't act like they know a ton. And they might even invite questions from people or comments from people. And they're not afraid to let someone else have the spotlight or let someone else say something smart. Because, God speaks through different people at different times. So you want to model it.
Yeah.
And you want to be open to, people laughing at your mistakes and seeking to do things better. That's probably a sign
good.
that, a way to model it is you're not content just to say, well, I'm doing it this way and I've been doing it this way for 10 years. And, no one can say anything about it. Now, in full disclosure, there are times when someone wants to change something that I've been doing for 30 years and my immediate response inside is, what? You're kidding me? Do you know how long I've crafted that approach and how that? But David, it's just like we're always learning, we're always growing. The Lord, He's gracious, He teaches us. So model it. And the third thing I'd say is just be upfront with people about what they're getting.
Yeah.
Just say, guys. So I have a group of interns on Thursday nights right now.
Yeah.
That I lead, and it's like 10 to 12 college students, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. And so
guys and girls.
Yes, that's guys and girls.
Yeah.
And they will every week. I have a guy lead and a girl, and they pick the songs, and they're serving us. So they finish, and then I will give my thoughts. And it's starting to be that place where, okay, you all give your thoughts. And at different places, I'll just take rabbit trails and say, well, this past week, someone said, I felt like I wasn't sure I could sing that, it's just because it was about commitment to the Lord. And is that really true about me? And I said, well, okay, let's talk about that for a second. Are we lying to God when we sing? Do you ever feel that way? Do you ever feel like, so what's the place of that? So we just had this discussion about that. And, it wasn't, the guys I'm positioning the guys to potentially have a, worship pastor position. The girls, I want them to be equipped as well. They're going to be serving on teams. They're going to be contributing to the life of their church. And I want them to be aware of, what's happening. So it's just a great context for, explaining a lot of things. But all that to say, I've told them, we're going to encourage you guys as you lead, but we're also going to talk about the things that could be better.
Yeah.
And as people share, I might even talk about how we give counsel. You don't act like you're the person who knows everything.
So good.
You give it humbly. Yeah. And you say, well, it seems to me that this was like this. Or maybe, someone says, what I mentioned earlier, well, I really liked it when you did this. Well, why? Why did you like it?
Yeah.
So it's just helping them think about what we're actually doing.
Yeah.
So I think if you're upfront with people about, hey, we're going to be picky about really small things. Don't take it personal. It's not personal. Yeah. Do you want to grow? Do you want to grow? I was just reading Proverbs this morning. The wise man listens and adds to his learning. Like, well, you're already wise. Yeah, okay. That's why I want to learn more.
Yeah.
I think
so good.
It's just, we'll fail. We'll make mistakes. We'll get proud. We'll react. We'll get defensive. And say, okay, I'm sorry I was defensive about that. But overall, over the long run, you just develop this culture where people really want input. Because there's no time when you're leading when you think, doggone, I nailed it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
This is perfect. Yes.
If the Holy Spirit didn't show up in that, I don't know, what are you waiting for? It's just amazing. There's no time like that. Right. We're always dependent on the Holy Spirit to work, to move in people's lives, to bring life, to bring conviction, to bring encouragement, all those things. So we're just servants. We're seeking to please the Lord, trying to be faithful, and what a freeing position to be in.
Yeah, well, and it should encourage like those who are listening. If you are in a church context where you are not trying to disciple your team or cultivate what we're talking about within your team, there could be opportunities missed. I remember that when I was leading worship, I was playing drums in the college ministry, and then I moved into a leading position. Yeah. And there were people in that ministry on my team that were better than me at doing that. And so cultivating that, repeating that, is cultivating that for other people.
Yes.
And your guitar player might step up and go, I kind of want to learn how to pick songs. Or your drummer could say, I kind of want to learn how to do this and lead better. And so it's encouraging for, anyone on your team to know this and for song leaders to be implementing this with their teams.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can invite people, make it a closed group, or you could open it up. Say, hey, anybody wants to come? Come on, we can do it. And beyond that, on Sundays now, like when I lead, I will have someone always lead a song. So there'll be a guy on acoustic. I can't do that with another piano player, but I will with the guys playing acoustic. I'll say, hey, do you want to lead this? What song do you want to lead? Sometimes I'll ask them to lead a particular song. So that gives them more experience, I've talked to someone recently about, we just don't have as many opportunities for guys to lead. We Sunday morning, that's it. Well, you don't want to make your church like the guinea pig.
Yes.
Throw a person up there and say, yeah, I think they'll be fine. And
right.
No, walk alongside them. So I'm able to do that, leading, but then I give them the opportunity to really lead that song. And I will say, you're leading, you call out things, you tell us when the song's starting. And that's been great because I've seen guys grow out of that. And what I'll do afterwards is I'll go talk to them and typically go talk to them and say, hey, this is really good. This, I'm not sure that quite worked. What were you thinking there? Just whatever I noticed, whatever I thought. Again, not to pronounce you got a B+ on this. It was more, hey, that was really good. Here's something I would watch for later. Some guys feel really stiff, and I just say, I feel like you're trying to be something you're not. I want you to be you, because I can't give you any input unless you're you. If you're trying to be something you think I want you to be, that's really not going to help.
Yep.
So just be yourself.
Well, and it's the encouragement and admonishment.
It's like, both. Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't call it admonishment, but it's just correction. It's just course adjustment.
Yeah.
Sometimes those are big things. Sometimes you're closing your eyes the entire time you led. I don't think it's really communicating to people that
we're doing this together.
Yeah, we're doing this together. You're part of the congregation.
That's good.
But it might be something really simple.
Yeah.
I thought you waited a little bit too long to start that song. It's just really small, and where they could say, I felt that a little bit too. And, okay, great, we're on the same page. But if they thought, oh no, I thought that was really great, they might have a response. Well, you said this, and this was happening, and I thought, okay, that's great. I just want us to be thinking about these things. Yeah. So, what we're doing is intentional, and it has a purpose, and that purpose is always to cultivate faith-filled singing in the people so that they are beholding the glory of the Lord as they sing. That's what we want to get to. So, those are some of the things I've done along the way.
That's wonderful. That's so helpful. Thank you, Bob, so much.
It has been my joy, and I love doing these with you, and maybe we'll do some more. What do you think?
It's great.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to the next time. Thank you for listening to Sound Plus Doctrine, the podcast of Sovereign Grace Music. Sovereign Grace Music exists to produce Christ-exalting songs and training for local churches from local churches. For more information, free sheet music, translations, and training resources, you can visit us at sovereigngracemusic.org.